Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the second round of Season 3 of Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA, the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge at Watkins Glen International. Welcome to Monday Night Racing pre-race show. I am your host, Taylor Burris, and of course joining me is none other than Justin Prince, our pit road reporter. And Justin, we have a very exciting race here tonight, actually bringing back a last season favorite, the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen. It's basically Stadium Super Trucks at its finest here, Justin. This track has been providing a lot of excitement from last season.
Absolutely. When talking to some of the drivers in preparation for tonight, one of the main consistent themes has been they're expecting it to be fun, but also wild, because for those who watched last season, a lot of bumping and banging, a lot of physical presence being needed to complete some of the passes, and a lot of physicality in general across the racetrack. A lot of the competitors in turn are expecting the same for tonight, and especially with a lot of talent in this field for tonight, the competitors are expecting what could be a close race, Taylor.
It certainly is. Of course, last season we had the amazing battle between Will Rogers and Kyle Busch coming to the checkered flag. We'll be talking to Will a little later on during this pre-race show here, but let's talk about these Pro 2 trucks. They're anywhere between 700 to 900 horsepower. They're a little bit smaller compared to their bigger cousin, the Pro 4 trucks that are also used on the iRacing service, more so for off-road racing, but these trucks can be utilized on just about any configuration, and basically, Justin, these trucks will provide a lot of difficulties of car control as well as managing how you're able to attack these corners.
Absolutely. When it comes to these drivers in this truck, especially with this truck, I should rather say, these trucks aren't specifically made for this type of a racetrack. And that's one of the main emphasis brought upon by a couple different competitors. But that's the fun about it. Try to wheel it around and try and slip and slide, as well as bring some slip from the back tires, which drivers have been able to do. Now keep in mind, fuel strategy is also going to be a very big part of tonight, Taylor, where competitors last season had a lot of different strategies. Some of them electing to pit earlier, others electing to go later on in the pit window to try and go for an overcut. But tire cycles are going to be very important, as well as trying to keep your tires cool throughout the facet and completion of a run.
It certainly is, Justin. Of course, just a quick little highlight of tonight's race is going to be a 40-lap event here, so we should be seeing some drivers pitting around the halfway point for the most part. But keep in mind, we could see some other strategies as this race progresses. Well, as we get closer to the race, let's talk to last season's winner, Rogers, as we bring him up into the booth before he gets ready to go out and qualify. Will, welcome once again to the Monday Night Racing pre-race show. How do you feel about tonight's race so far?
Yeah, I really don't know, guys, because last year was hectic, a heck of a lot of fun, obviously, but it really came down to like a last lap pass, and then me just fending off Kyle Busch and James Davidson and those guys. I have a feeling that it's going to be a scrap once again, so I don't really know. It's up in the air.
You're currently sitting... Oh, go ahead, Justin.
I was about to say, how would you describe this combination when it comes to driving here at this facility, especially with the Pro 2 trucks not specifically designed when it comes to racing specifically on a lot of these types of racetracks?
I think that this combination is awesome. This is absolutely one of my favorites because not only is Watkins Glen a fantastic track, but I feel like it suits this truck really well. When you start getting the truck slower on road courses, it's not as fun to drive, it seems like, and you know, where you can make up time isn't super evident, right? Whereas where you can run a truck here side by side or nose to tail with somebody and just be hauling the mail and really tell where you can make a mistake or make up ground. And it also puts it in the driver's hands, you know, with some of the more downforce cars that we run throughout the season. I feel like it's not necessarily all driver, whereas this, you know, it takes somebody that's measured and skillful to keep it in the lines, but also be on that ragged edge.
It certainly is the case, Will. Of course, you have a couple of wins here at Watkins Glen and a couple of good finishes in the real world as well, not just the win that you had last season here. What has helped you with preparation to looking into this race?
Honestly, I have had zero preparation. You know, I've definitely prepared in the past for not only this series, but real life stuff before via iRacing. But this week has been crazy for me. Lots of cool real world racing things happening. But that's not provided me the opportunity to jump on the sim and prepare. Really, I've only had these 50 minutes so far to get up to speed, and luckily I ran my first lap and by myself was P4 on the board, and then everybody started figuring out the draft and started cutting here and there on the course, and the time shifted a little bit, but I think I found myself back towards the front with a decent lap working with some people. So hopefully that'll play out to my hand later tonight.
Well, Will, we look forward to seeing what you can do, see if you can go back-to-back here once again at Watkins Glen in these Pro 2 trucks. Anyone you'd like to say thank you to?
Yeah, of course. I really want to get this Space Station racing truck on top again. We've got an amazing paint scheme on the truck and several other trucks out there that look just like mine that my buddy Preston Pardis put together. It was actually a surprise. I found out about an hour ago, and I think the trucks are the best looking on the racetrack. So got to thank Steel Series and all of the other groups that support Space Station Gaming, Space Station Racing, all of our partners. But then also thank NAPA Auto Parts for jumping on for this series. That's really cool, really big news, and congrats to you guys for making that happen.
Of course, and we look forward to seeing what you can do. Once again, that is Will Rogers looking to see if he can go back-to-back here at Watkins Glen in the Pro 2 trucks. And Justin will be really looking forward to seeing what he can do. But who are some of the other drivers that you're going to be keeping an eye on in the practice times currently so far?
Well, based on some of the speeds and some of the consistency so far, some of the drivers are James Davison, who is currently at the top of the board. He's been very consistent. He was one of the drivers involved in last year's battle as well. The last time this series came here, Garrett Smithley has also been very quick when it comes to his preparation. But you have to keep an eye on our drivers who you may see rise up to the top if they qualify well, like David Schildhaus or a Shane Van Gisbergen type driver or James Bigford. A few of those drivers have shown flashes of brilliance so far this season, but as well have shown consistent marks on being able to keep their trucks from getting time penalties, as well as keeping their trucks from spinning around and getting involved in major incidents.
Let's take a quick look around here at this track to get people an idea of what these drivers are going to have to go through right now. As we look over here through our Google Earth, this track is actually not the full circuit. It's the Cup configuration, so it's about 8 turns here. They will not go through the boot section here as we zoom in from our Google Earth. As you can take a look, the configuration, though, Justin, is still a very tricky one. From corners such as the 90, and then, of course, the dangerous S's and the inner loop, drivers will have to make sure that they handle it, especially on turn 1, lap 1.
Absolutely. It was one of the most aggressive spots the last time the series came here was the 90 for drivers to be able to dive their way in for sends, as well as been talked about by drivers like David Schildhaus to the various viewerships, that the inner loop is going to be very important because while it's not necessarily a passing zone, it can set up opportunities for the outer loop into turn 5 to the carousel to set up passes as well. Don't be surprised to see drivers run wide a little bit during that inner loop and run into the grass, as well as in parts off of turn 6 and 7, trying to snake their way through this road course. In other words, this is going to be where you cannot afford to make mistakes, but there's also plenty of opportunities to try and attack.
It certainly is, Justin, and there's also a lot of heavy hitters in tonight's race that have had success here at Watkins Glen. Drivers who are in the field, such as Kyle Busch. He is a 3-time winner at this configuration circuit. Not maybe in these trucks, but he has won here 2 times in the Cup Series and, of course, an Xfinity Series win. Of course, several other drivers. We talked to Will Rogers, who was the defending winner from last season and also won a K&N Pro Series race here in 2017. So any other drivers also you want to think about who might be a dark horse?
In terms of dark horses, I'm keeping my eye on Stephen Wilson, for example, in the 25 machine, 13th quickest currently on the practice charts. He's been somebody that's shown some great amount of momentum when it comes to running on road courses, and he was one of the more eventful drivers when it came to the last time here, if I remember correctly, when it comes to those types of dyno trucks, as James Pike put it during that race broadcast. So it's going to be entertaining to see how things fare out.
It certainly is. And speaking of James Pike, we're going to go ahead and bring in those who are going to bring you the action live. James Pike and Kenneth Bueno. Gentlemen, this is going to be an exciting race here tonight.
A good evening, Taylor and Justin, and a good evening to all of you watching online, whether or not it might be on Twitch or YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, or wherever you may be. This is a quintessential Monday Night Racing combo. Part of the goal of MNR is to shuffle these drivers and force them to compete on car and track combos that you wouldn't normally get the chance to compete with or normally would compete in real life. That's part of the beauty of what you have on iRacing, and this may be more so than any of the other combinations that we use all season long is a staple of Monday Night Racing. We saw an incredible finish off the final corner last year. Will Rogers wins. Trucks flip behind him. They were 3 wide coming out of the final turn. So, Kenneth Plato, I figure we're going to see absolutely nothing less than that tonight. It should be an equally spectacular race.
Especially, James, with the fact that we have many of those drivers returning, right? And you say that final battle between Will Rogers and a handful of others, a lot of those drivers who lost that battle are back here for season 3 here at this race. So a lot of them, I think, will be looking for some of that redemption to get Will Rogers back and take a win of their own. And with these Pro 2 trucks, I don't think you can really predict anything stable out of these things. These things are very hard to drive. These things you can really send in the corners. You can be hard on the brakes. You can whip them around, drift them, whatever you may be. At a track like Watkins Glen, I figure we're probably going to see a dance battle between a lot of the trucks, and whoever has the best moves ends up winning.
These trucks have very soft suspensions. They're meant to be driven on dirt courses, not asphalt courses. So you have to get used to that lean, and you have to get used to the spring compression, the preloading, in order to get the most out of your vehicle. It's a bit of a different kind of challenge, but a fun one. And we're going to see who does it best at the top of the hour from New York's Thunder Road, Taylor. We're looking forward to it.
We certainly are looking forward to it indeed. As qualifying is getting ready to kick off here, Justin, we are going to be taking a quick commercial break, but when we come back, James Pike, as well as Kenneth Bueno and Justin Prince will be heading over to get ready for tonight's action. Of course, once again, this is the Monday Night Racing pre-race show presented by NAPA.
There's a place where fire and
At
flavor
NAPA,
are celebrated.
we keep things
Where
moving.
traditions and new techniques are
If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast. At NAPA, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits.
We are an industrial flooring company specializing in custom floors and drains. We don't believe in the one-size-fits-all approach to flooring, and neither should you. When you choose Tufco, we consult with you about your needs, industry requirements, and factor in numerous variables. After assessing your facility, we engineer your floor and drains, then install everything ourselves. That's the Tufco way. Visit our website at tufcoflooring.com.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Maconi Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Maconi Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MaconiSetupShop.com and learn why Maconi Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing. And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
At NAPA, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast. At NAPA, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits.
evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the second round of Season 3 of Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA Auto Parts, the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge at Watkins Glen International. James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports here, alongside Kenneth Bueno, our producer Ryan Bauer, and cameras and seating provided to us by Dougie Beard. A warm welcome to all of you watching across the internet, wherever you may be, and a special welcome to our friends at NAPA Auto Parts who join us for the first time as a brand new title partner for Season 3 of Monday Night Racing. So we're going to be bringing the NAPA know-how to the Monday Night Racing broadcast all season long. And I guess, Kenneth, the big question is, can I get a hold of one of the big faux NAPA hats? Those are the ones I like the most. So I don't know, we might be able to talk to somebody and maybe have a little bit of fun with this and bring some blue and some yellow into the show beyond what I've got here. I tried, but I feel like there's a little bit more that we can do.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of think of that Chase Elliott NAPA commercial a while back. I'd love to have all that stuff. We could bring that in the broadcast. That would be phenomenal. But the focus, I think, Pike, lays on this race itself. We saw this last season. Fantastic race tonight. I'm believing that we're going to see the same sort of action. A lot of beating and banging, a lot of big sends, a lot of big moves, lots of at least quick racing with these very heavy trucks. And Watkins Glen certainly makes itself as a very interesting venue to whip these trucks around. So apart from a brand new sponsor and the exciting opportunities we have with them on Monday Night Racing, we're going to see an exciting venue I think that they'll be very happy about.
It's a good week for a new partner to come in because part of the challenge here is driving these trucks around Watkins Glen. In the same way that it was a challenge for a lot of the Cup Series drivers to get around Darlington yesterday afternoon, it's a similar kind of challenge because you're working with an incredibly soft suspension. And that changes the way you maneuver these trucks, especially on corner entry and corner exit. You not only have to brake, but you have to compress the springs in order to get the best entry into corners and drive off of corners. And that's something we're going to be watching all night long. So to take a look quickly at our race analysis for this evening and what you can expect over the course of the next hour and a half or so. We're going for 40 laps this evening, just south of 100 miles, just south of 160 kilometers around the Cup layout at Watkins Glen International. We'll have a competition caution at the halfway point. Drivers will have one quick repair and two sets of tires available to them in pit road. It's a fixed setup provided to us by our friends at Maconi Setup Shop with a full fuel tank, but these drivers will need to pit at least once, and you would expect they will knock that out under the competition caution. So not too wild. It's the same setup that we had in Season 2 for this race, for those who watched us tackle this track and car combo in January, but we bring it up a little bit earlier in the schedule. It's part of the regular season, and you can see some of the things that are upcoming. It's a big next 2 weeks. We head to the dirt version of Bristol Motor Speedway for the very first time next Monday night with the trucks on dirt, a classic M&R combo, and then the Monday Night Racing Indianapolis 500 returns for a second season 2 weeks from tonight, May 24th. You'll see it here on Podium Esports, and we'll see if Parker Kligerman can defend his race victory from a year ago before we take off for Memorial Day and then look forward past the break to the debut of the Mazda MX-5 Miata Cup car. First time we run that Monday Night Racing. That'll come to you from Line Rock at the beginning of June. So just a few of the races that you'll find over the next few weeks of Monday Night Racing, and a lot of fun to be had, Kenneth, as we begin to enter the summer months of 2021.
Yeah, it is going to be a lot of fun. You already see some of the races that I think for most is marquee events. I think for these drivers is also as well, because you had races as soon as you get it from the drop before you go to the first race of the season. A lot of drivers are thinking, okay, this is probably a track where I'll probably have the best shot. Here's one that I like. Here's one that I may not be so familiar with. I'll try this one anyway. So there's a lot to be excited about. I think as for me, hometown Miami, you look good to see the two Miami races here on the schedule, but nonetheless, there is so much action to cover with so many cars, so many tracks. And you said at the top of the show, the beauty of iRacing to mix all of this stuff together, put the best sim racers and real life drivers out there on there as well.
Wait. Kid from Miami is excited about the Miami races and Monday Night Racing. Color me shocked. Huge surprise there. Maybe not a huge surprise, though, to see the man with the fastest time in qualifying, a road racer by nature, and the 2016 Australian Supercars champion and current points leader in that series, down under Shane Van Gisbergen with the fastest time by 0.3 of a second. Big moves for SVG, who may well just be leading us to pole. We'll see if Stephen Wilson, I think, is the last driver to take time, but it should likely be the 97 sitting on pole for this race. And we'll get ready to take a look at the starting grid and get ready to take a look at the Club Beef Jerky Pole Awards and see who's going to get the extra bonus courtesy of our beef jerky friends. It's the Beef Jerky Unlimited Pole Award that officially is actually indeed going to go to Shane Van Gisbergen. SVG running Holdens for the last year in 2021 before they shuffle to Camaros in the 2022 season down in Australia. Have a lot of fun watching him get around here, and it's time to take a look at the starting grid for tonight's Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge at Watkins Glen. SVG top on the board with a 126.507 alongside Stephen Wilson, James Davison, and Preston Pardis. Set to go in that second row. Will Rogers, who not only won this race but won the Monday Night Racing title a season ago, starts near the front. He's joined by the number 29 of James Bickford starting in sixth.
Then behind them, you'll find Twitch streamer David Schildhouse, the inside of row 4. DJ Cummings to his outside before you find rookie Adam Cabot in the 17 in the inside of row number 5. And NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch will be at the end of the top 10 on the grid. Garrett Smithley in the 52 will be behind them with NAPA representative and NHRA driver Ron Capps in row number 6.
Looking a little bit further back forward, Martin Josh Late there in row 7. You see some of the other big names. Brandon Brown, he got a new position with XR today. Congratulations to him. We'll make note of that. Justin Melillo, Brett Bolduck, Robbie Lyons, Michael Massey. You see the rest of these drivers rolling across your screen. Time to take a look at the track facts and learn a little bit more about Watkins Glen, especially for those who missed the pre-race show. This is Watkins Glen International in Watkins Glen, New York. It opened in 1956. It's a 2.454 mile, 3.949 kilometer circuit with 8 turns. As we try and keep track of things, we'll refer to them with their old school names, but we'll keep our eyes peeled and see how the action goes about. The lap record put down by Davy Jones at a GTP car back when IMSA competed here in 1992, 58.669 seconds. So we'll keep our eyes peeled on all the action to come on this day in Simmons, May 15, 2021, 4 o'clock local time in the afternoon, 75 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, track temp 106 degrees Fahrenheit, winds to the north at 3 miles an hour, humidity of 0%. As we get our standing started, we are off and rolling with the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge from Watkins Glen International in Season 3 of Monday Night Racing, presented by NAPA Auto Parts, as there's trouble in the first turn already.
Yeah, it was the Space Station Gaming car. I believe it may have been Will Rogers as one gets turned around. Fans, though, to the beginning of the S's as the top two seemingly pull away very quickly and easily. Seems as though they've already got a wrap around with these Pro 2 trucks, and they are practically tandeming as they head to the back straightaway in the inner loop.
All kinds of people making moves here. Stephen Wilson was able to get ahead of Shane Van Gisbergen on the jump and beat him down to turn 1. So it's the Jurassic Park Dynamobile that leads the field through the interloop for the first time. Wilson, Van Gisbergen, Davison, and David Schildhouse, who should have a say in how this pans out. For those who watch him regularly on his Twitch channel, you know that he loves to run official races with these jumpy trucks, as he calls them. So he's a driver who has more experience in this vehicle than just about anybody. Watch for the 20 truck to be a factor over the course of the evening.
And one thing, James, about these trucks, and I think I said it earlier, the fact that you can send these trucks a lot harder than usual, especially in a lot of these hard-braking corners. And for David Schildhouse, I know I've watched a couple of his streams, the way that he drives, and he's not necessarily scared to send it. So for David, if he has to push and shove to get to the front, he probably will do so if necessary. Currently rides in 4th as he ride on board, heading into turn 1, James. This is one of the hardest parts, if not the hardest part of this track. Just diving on the brakes straight to turn 1, angling the heavy truck and swiveling around.
It's intriguing the way you have to drive these trucks because it's almost like a dirt vehicle in some forms. You have to sort of point it more than you would if you were driving a traditional asphalt vehicle. So You have to sort of keep those dynamics in mind as you navigate your way around Watkins Glen. Never mind the fact that these trucks don't have a lot of top-end speed. They come down this back straightaway, and as Schildhouse and company make their way towards the braking zone, they only get to about 115, 120 miles an hour. So in that sense, they're pretty underpowered for the size of this circuit, but they have a lot of torque, which makes it tricky to get out of corners and get into corners. And that's where the fun really begins here when you race the Pro 2 trucks at Watkins Glen like we are tonight.
Yeah, and that pressure on the throttle, you have to be very careful with it. And I think as we get tire wear to factor into this race, it'll be a lot worse. But up front seems to be nowhere for the 25 of Stefan Wilson. He will dive to the inside. Actually, that was to the outside. Shane Van Gisbergen, though, took the pole, now goes back to the bottom. He takes away the race lead. Wilson, though, will have to fire through in his Jurassic Park truck. I think one of the best colors that we're seeing here tonight.
Definitely one of the favorite schemes or liveries, depending on which part of the motorsports world you come from, that is in the field this evening. As you look at that group, they're up towards the front. Everybody just hanging out behind SVG. And then you've got Stephen Wilson, James Davison, David Schildhouse, Adam Cabot, the Esports Racing League champion, who earned his way into Season 3 of Monday Night Racing by winning the ERL that you watched on podium in the interim between Seasons 2 and 3 of MNR. And oh, by the way, he happens to be about a truck length ahead of two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Kyle Busch. The magic of iRacing, right, kiddo?
Certainly is. I mean, there's not many places that you can kind of be in the same lane with a NASCAR Cup Series driver just as a sim racer. So that's the magic there, as Cabot just tries to fend off in this very long line of trucks as they head to the carousel. A lot of them trying to look for position, but I think for now, James, still very early to try and attack at this point.
As these drivers begin their way through the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge at Watkins Glen, we turn our attention to pit road for the first time and bring in our pit reporter for the evening, Justin Prince.
And one of the drivers who qualified well was David Schildhouse, who emphasized, especially when looking back at the tape with last season's race, I should say, that starting up front is incredibly valuable, especially with how it can be to try and get deeper through the field. But one of the main things he said was he expects a lot of physical beating and baiting around this track, and some retaliation if things goes over the line. He's already established his own line for good old-fashioned hard racing versus getting used up, and if and when that line gets crossed, he said he'll respond accordingly. So keep an eye on that from him in fourth position.
Thank you, Justin. I think one of the things that stands out to me when I consider David in comparison to the rest of this field is that given that he's got more experience with these trucks than most drivers, I figure he'll also know how to use them. As you look off the back of Ford Martin riding in the 15th spot, that's Dylan Wells, Brandon Brown, just behind him, Max Cannon in this mix too. And Brandon Brown, we definitely would be remiss not to talk about Brandon Brown, who has sort of completed an arc this evening, formerly of Richmond Raceway, and just today announced a new deal with XR, and he's going to have the opportunity to bring all sorts of dirt racing action with XR as their new senior manager of digital media and marketing. So all of us at Podium Esports want to say congratulations to Brandon on his new position. Personally, I've had the chance to see what he's been able to pump out on his Twitter and Instagram feeds, and he's going to be having a lot of fun at some of the best dirt tracks in the country, and looking forward to seeing what he can accomplish in the day-to-day. Right now, he runs at the 16th spot in his number 12 truck, just ahead of Max Kennedy, the 21, and Dylan Welch. Those of you saw side by side as you go back on board with SVG, who's got James Davison right in arrears. So again, seems like we come back to this theme of Australian and New Zealander fighting in Monday Night Racing, and that's exactly what we've got. Van Gisbergen, the Kiwi, and Davison, the Australian, this time racing first and second.
Also pretty much similar to the fact that James Davison was a part of this race last season, and now he is completely hounding on the rear end of Shane Van Gisbergen. The only question will be, what corner do you make this pass? And I think for many drivers tonight, especially with over the 55-minute practice, they were questioning themselves with that and pretty much throughout the entire session, just wondering hey, where can I make these passes? What places can I really set up? And as they talked about in the pre-race show, this corner right here, this carousel, and setting up out of the inner loop is going to be one of the more crucial parts, because you can easily gain and lose a lot of speed in terms of that segment as you ride along with Kyle Busch. And as you see on the onboard, James, it is a lot of fun, but it is not very easy, especially in the middle of traffic.
The inner loop is entirely about maintaining momentum, especially with a vehicle like this where you don't have a lot of top-end speed. It's not like you're going to gain all that much running down a straightaway, because you've got motor to get you towards the inner loop faster, especially coming out of the S's. So much of a good lap time at Watkins Glen is about corner exit in particular. You have to get out of these corners as best as possible. That's where you will gain tenths. That's where you will lose tenths. And if you can keep the motor wound up, you will most likely keep your lap times down.
Look at this battle here between James Bickford and Joshua Slate. Actually add in Anthony Alfredo to the equation. These three have been kind of fighting between the last couple laps and set it up all the way to turn one. And then pretty much what I've been seeing, James, is that a lot of drivers go side by side, especially here through the S's where it gets so tight. And then it seems to be very quick work. They go side by side for about a couple turns, and then one driver finally makes the move, and then they settle through. No needs to be any retaliation on the passing side, as there is a textbook pass by Anthony Alfredo. So although you have to play the momentum game, James, you also have to play this sort of passing game and the way you methodically work your way through the field, because it's not going to be very easy. And especially you don't want to necessarily push the driver out of the way so early in this race. You probably want to save that for later. Keep your bumpers clean.
One of those, don't leave the driver around you a chance to retaliate if you can avoid it, and don't leave them time to get you back if you decide to get into them. Some people will be a little bit more successful at that than others. Some people will accidentally run into other drivers because they run out of space or manage to lock up the truck, or a bunch of variables that could go into play there that might mess people up. As you look at your lead group here, Van Gisbergen, Davison, Wilson, Cabot, Kyle Busch, the top 5, top 6 really, all within 3 seconds of one another. And then a few battles that are worth noting just a little bit further back. You've got a good group with Garrett Smithley, Will Rogers, TJ Cummings, and then Anthony Alfredo now leads a group that includes James Bickford, Josh Slate, and Ron Capps, who is naturally carrying the NAPA colors on a very, very big night for his longtime partner as they join the fray in Monday Night Racing for the very first time. And once again, a very warm welcome to all of our NAPA Auto Parts associates and friends all around the United States and around the globe as they join Monday Night Racing for Season 3.
It's certainly very exciting as we move forward through this season. Lots of new partners, and of course the drivers putting on this insane action each and every week. And we saw it, James, almost 5 wide at Daytona to end the race with Matt Solnick getting his first win of the season. It was insane, and to have these partners coming in, to have a lot of new people, new faces end up in this fray, it's certainly a lot of fun, very exciting, and for the future of this series is going to mean very beneficial things. You see Will Rogers, defending winner, making a move to the inside, and you talked about it, James, he was in this sort of small group for a moment and just trying to fend off these two. And I think as though Will Rogers doesn't seem to have as much long run speed as I anticipated, he's been kind of just hanging in, and it has not been at least this stellar night just yet, but it's only been 8 laps, so we don't know that up until.
And also of note, with the NAPA announcement that came today, a few extra pieces, a little bit of cash going to these drivers over the course of the season. The All-Star race is going to pay some money, as will the Monday Night Racing Indianapolis 500 and the throwback race when we head to Darlington Raceway with the 1987 Ford Thunderbird and Chevrolet Monte Carlo in August, and an ending season points fund. Champion and some of the top finishers in this season of M&R are going to get a little bit of cash as well. So big thanks to our friends at NAPA for coming on board and supporting Monday Night Racing this season. Still a good lead battle, but not too much movement within it. They've all began to string themselves out and just wait for their moment to attack. I think a lot of drivers are just sort of riding around, especially here at the front. No point to push the issue at this stage if you're there, knowing that we have a competition caution coming halfway through the race. So it's actually relatively calm at the front, considering how close the trucks are. You want to go find the good battles, you need to slide a little bit further back. We'll start with Max Kennan in the 15th position. That's about where you head. And then you've got Gary Sexton, Brandon Brown, Garrett Miller, Dylan Welch and company, Steve Affont, Gabe Wood, Chad Reed and company fighting for spaces. And for a report on this group, we turn down to pit road once more and to Justin Prince.
In a bit of tempers overflowing a bit over the radio, in fact, when it comes to this group. Gary Sexton saying, guys, I'm telling you, if you don't work together, we're going to keep losing spots. They have lost 17 to 18 seconds from the main pack so far in this race. And they've been shuffling a bit, going back and forth in this grouping. Some of the drivers in this grouping, such as Kennan, have gained 13 positions, yes, but right now the focus has been, when it comes to Sexton, to trying to work together with his fellow compatriots as well. The pit window has opened up for drivers. Drivers are reporting up to about 5 more laps on fuel, including Anthony Alfredo at the moment.
And that includes your race leader, Shane Van Gisbergen. He's come down pit road, as has James Davison, as has James Bickford. As we take a look at some of the action you're seeing, there are a lot of trucks here once you get to about 20th on back, Kenneth, that are just all over the place, fighting each other for track position.
And this track position, James, is going to be so key when you go to pit road. And we'll take a replay here. This was a look at the action a little bit further behind. This is where Adam Cabot sits going into the S's. Big send. Tries to make a move on the bottom to Stefan Wilson. They go door to door for a moment. And then you see Kyle Busch saying, hey, guys, I want to join the party too. Ends up 3 trucks all the way to the back straightaway. Just so tight, so close. And going into the inner loop, I don't think this really spells anything safe.
Usually things don't end well when you've got any vehicle in such proximity heading towards the inner loop, much less these trucks. But how about Kyle Busch with the slick move there coming down the back straightaway, as there was contact between Cabot and Davison exiting the inner loop, and that allowed Kyle Busch to stretch it out. So your 2-time Cup Series champion and winner at Kansas in the Cup Series just over a week ago is your new race leader in the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge at Watkins Glen. It's Stefan Wilson and Adam Cabot, rather, that are fighting for second and third still.
And they still maintain themselves at least closely connected. But I also was looking, of course, as you said, Shane Van Gisbergen, James Davison, handful of leaders went down pit road. So now what's going to be even more curious is the fact that one of the leaders going to try and elect to go down. There have been at least some concerns over how many laps they can make it on fuel at the moment. So a lot of them trying to at least pinpoint which lap will be best for them to head for service, get some quick fuel, and be out on their way without losing a lot of track position. So for these 3 guys up front, I'm very curious to see when they're going to veer right, head down pit road, and when this move will be made. And as for Kyle Busch, the move will be made now with Adam Cabot.
Busch and Cabot coming down pit road. Wilson and Schildhouse will stay out, so they'll assume the top 2 spots. Looks like we're going to see Will Rogers come in from about the 5th spot as well, and a whole host of others beginning to make their way down pit road. Ron Capps, Josh Slate, Ford Martin, Max Kennan all in. Looks like a few more trucks coming down pit road for service. Gabe Wood is in. Preston Pardis is down pit road. Chad Reed has come down. Matt Stolbeck, winner a week ago, is in for service. And I believe we may see a few more trucks towards the back of this field. Looks like Michael Massey is going to be the last one to make his pit stop on lap 10 of 40.
So a lot of ones taking this move early. And remember, we're still about 9 laps away, James, from our first competition caution at the halfway mark, lap number 20. So to make this move now, gain the track position after, and then look for the caution will probably be the motive that a lot of them are taking. As you look at the drivers that's sitting through the top 5, there's a big mover in himself. 38 of Anthony Alfredo went all the way and started from 17th. And he had a lot of short run speed, James. Was moving through a lot of the packs, was watching him make some nice passes methodically. And with this pitch strategy, he's moved up into the top 5 for the first time this evening. So great to see the 38 of Anthony Alfredo making these moves from about the mid-pack of the field. And with the pitch strategy, he'll definitely be in a position to keep some of that track position as well.
The numbers are a little bit inflated on Alfredo just because he's yet to come down pit road, but Alfredo had been passing trucks a little bit further back in the field, so wait to see where he cycles out once he comes out of pit road. But my guess is that he will probably be further up the field than the 17th place that he started. A really good run for him. Also solid work for Steve Avant too, who at the moment is up to 12th after starting 27th. But again, we'll need to wait to see where all these trucks cycle in as we see tons of drivers in this time. Stephen Wilson, DJ Cummings, Anthony Alfredo, Gary Sexton, Brandon Brown, Garrett Miller, Dylan Welch, Avant, Stephen Ellis, a almost baker's dozen of drivers in for their stops this time by.
And now you'll see everybody start to cycle back forward. Shane Van Gisbergen and James Davison as you ride along with Kyle Busch a little bit further behind these two. So now they're going to start to cycle to net P1, net P2, net P3 with the fact that Garrett Smithley and David Schildhouse are yet to pit. They've been the longest on this strategy. So we'll most likely see Van Gisbergen out the front of the field, and he'll be up front by a relatively large margin if these two decide to go down pit road this time. So I guess for Gisbergen, it was the move to keep himself in the lead. And I reckon, James, that if you're going to stay out of the competition caution, if you're going to be in the lead, that's probably the best place you want to be, especially going into turn one where you can kind of control the restart for the most part.
You look at how Van Gisbergen did on pit road compared to Davison. The delta for their stops for SVG, a 34.5, for Davison, a 40.8. Incidentally, Van Gisbergen's margin over Davison at the moment about 5.5 seconds, and that gap can just about entirely be explained by their trips on pit road respectively. So funny how that works out. You know, I wouldn't normally think, Kenneth, that pit road and pit stops would be so influential in the way a race plays out. It almost seems like a foreign concept to me.
It's interesting. I mean, sometimes I've heard, I think foreign legend, that pit stops end up going for race wins. They end up actually determining who wins the race. So, I mean, we'll end up seeing here, lap 20 is not too far away with these trucks. I mean, maybe about 1 minute 27, but still. Schildhouse made his way down pit road, and it seems as though he may have been a little bit of trouble, but nonetheless, he's out and away, and Shane Van Gisbergen will take the lead. So, maybe not surprising to say that the driver who went in pit road P1 is P1 once again.
So lots of stuff, and a little update here on David Schildhouse. Justin Prince, you have more for us.
Well, on top of overrunning his pit box, one of the things he realized is he felt like he didn't need to take tires during that sequence. It was talked about by a couple drivers before today's race that the tires don't usually see too much wear. Specifically, Seth Ager indicated that there's little to no wear usually seen. However, as talked about during pre-race, heat cycles are one of the most important parts of these tires. For Schildhouse, he's rethinking that call. Unfortunately for him, lost a bit of time as well with overrunning that box. He's been shuffled to the end of the top 10, just about.
Currently running in the 11th position is David Schildhouse. So, again, the beauty of this is you hinted at, Kenneth, if you make a mistake on pit road now during this first cycle of pit stops, you have the opportunity to make it up because we are going to get the competition caution in a handful of laps, and that will bunch the field back up. So, this is sort of your grace period this first half of the race where if you make a mistake, you have the opportunity to save yourself. But if you have the same problem when you come in on lap 30 or so, if it stays green all the way and we end up with one more round of pit stops to finish this off, then you're going to be in a little bit more trouble.
And that's the stretch that goes with that pit strategy. And you think about it so much in the way that if you make this mistake first time around, you have the competition caution to at least help your case, give yourself a moment to relax and bunch yourself up with the field with a chance to gain more position. Then you go to the second one, knowing some of the notes you took in this first stop if you did not do it correctly or 100%, and then you can use that to perfect yourself, improve that pit stop, and overall make a difference. Because overall, that last stop, James, about lap 30, if we get there the final 10 laps of the race, that's going to be the most crucial part of this event because we're not going to have yellows, we're not going to have those saving grace cautions to bunch the field back together. So you're going to have ultimately a possible strategy call that will end up winning this race.
We'll see what kinds of strategy calls will come as this race winds down. In the meantime, though, looking right off of Anthony Alfredo's rear deck lid, he's up to 6th and trying to fend off the defending race winner at Watkins Glen in Pro 2 trucks from Monday Night Racing. Will Rogers carrying the Space Station Gaming colors as per usual, and they had a pretty good month last month in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Their man Vicente Salas went flag to flag for the very first time ever in a Coach Series race to get the victory at Richmond Raceway. It was a very proud moment for a new organization to eNASCAR, but one that Will's had ties to for a very long time.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic couple of months there for Space Station Gaming. One of the new teams to eNASCAR competition and pro esports competition is Will Rogers tries to give the bump to Anthony Alfredo, give him a shove to the inner loop as they head down. And for them, they also have been kind of through that development stage with a lot of the new teams. And I kind of think about maybe 2011 racing when they added Mitchell DeJong. Some of the newer formed affiliate or at least alliances between teams kind of gives you that moment to experiment, discover what's going to work, what's not going to work, and overall how things are going to fare out. And for the driver of that 65, he is definitely using this to his advantage. And maybe from here on out, James, we end up seeing him gaining more positions than this one right here in Anthony Alfredo for the top 5.
He'll make the move on Anthony Alfredo. Also of note, he's not the only Space Station Racing driver in the field. As we take a look at our BSG, Bryant Shock Technology in-race reporter, Gabe Wood, elbows up the band for JD Motorsports with Gary Keller trying to get it done. But there are 2 Space Station Racing trucks that I know of in this field, maybe more that might be hiding, but there's another one. There's a new one that's in the field this evening, and that belongs to a man with some road course experience himself, the number 90 of Preston Pardis. Just announced today that he is joining Space Station Racing, and likewise, he's got the black and the gold all over his Pro 2 truck as he works his way down towards turn 1 to try and get around the blue and gold truck of Ron Capps.
And for Preston Pardis, he went around at the exit of turn 1. We saw it as the field was spanning out on lap number 1 that he had gone around, and he fell all the way back to the mid-20s at some point in this race. So this is, again, much like I said with Anthony Alfredo, I think this may be probably the biggest move up to the front of the field, especially with the fact that he was one involved in incident to start this race. And for Ron Capps, you see him a little bit loose. This will be the moment for Preston Pardis to go by, make that pass. He'll duck in for just a moment, but as for Preston Pardis, to watch him, the speed he's carried, the way he's at least maneuvered pitch strategy after a mistake in turn 1 certainly shows that resilience of the driver. As Gary Sexton leading this group, I think this is the closest battle of a pack of trucks, James, that we're seeing all night long so far.
And Sexton maybe keeping drivers at bay, but we know he came on the radio earlier and he said, hey, drivers, if we don't work together, we're just going to lose more time to the leaders and lose more time to the leaders, which, again, might not matter now because we'll have the competition caution in a few laps. But, again, you get towards the end of the race and you're sitting right around this 10th spot where this group is. You're going to need to run in a line like this to have any shot of keeping up with the Van Gisbergens and the Kyle Bushes and the James Davisons and the Stephen Wilsons and Adam Cabots in this race.
Yeah, and really, you're going to be looking at that, and I think the competition caution when it comes down 3 laps will be the moment that Gary Sexton, with the frustrations he's carried in the cockpit so far tonight, can give him that opportunity to kind of reset, give himself a break, and at least try to figure out how to catch up to the top 3. But you don't have to worry about a lot more right now. Ford Martin diving to the inside with Preston Pardis also soon to follow, going to duck in as well. So we continue to see battles throughout this field. But as for the top runners, we talk about Gisbergen, Busch, and Davison. Kyle Busch made that pass for second. He's leading Davison by just a little bit. And as they come through the final 2 corners, Busch has control of second for now.
So Busch has P2. Davison wants P2 and gave a little love tap to Kyle Busch on entry through the final section of the racetrack. But Busch actually did a nice job of maintaining control of his truck through the corner to make sure that he hangs on to P2 at least for the moment. But a fun battle between those 2 drivers who have plenty of experience in the NASCAR Cup Series. Of course, Busch we know racing for Joe Gibbs Racing and Davison for Rick Ware Racing in the NASCAR Cup Series in 2021. Another bump there from Davis into the rear bumper of Kyle Busch, and this time Busch is going to just send it wide. I think took advantage of the extra momentum he had on corner entry, courtesy of the bump, to just run it a little bit wider than Davison's truck and maintain the gap, at least for the moment. But how much longer do you think that sits if we're in the same position on, maybe lap 38 instead of lap 18, Kenneth?
it's going to be heightened to 11 or more, because if you're James Davison, giving those small bumps is something, but when you're at lap 38, lap 39, lap 40, you're giving a full bridge send. You're not going to give that tiny bump. You're not going to give that forgiveness. You're going to be straight to the bumper and try to push them out of the way. And especially, I'm going to think that this carousel might be the moment to do it. You can dive a little bit deep off the exit of the inner loop, and if you carry that momentum, you can kind of bump them into the corner, get them a little wide, get the better arc, and slip down to the bottom side. So for Davison, he may have to keep that in mind, but for these two, they're just friendly competitors right now, running for position. They know the caution is going to come out in 2 laps time. They're going to be bunched up anyway, so it won't matter at this point.
If you're going to have some fun with this is about the time to do it, because it might not be so nice if we're 20 laps further into this race, getting ready to take the checkered instead of the white. As Van Gisbergen begins lap 19 of 40, and again, competition caution coming at the end of the next lap to split this race up into 2 parts. I imagine we'll see just about the entire field down pit road, as Kyle Busch is going to let James Davison pass on the entry to turn 1, and Davison goes to second. Meanwhile, a little bit further back, Will Rogers now fighting Anthony Alfredo, who, as you pointed out a little bit earlier, Kenneth, Alfredo, one of the hardest challengers in this race, 17th to 7, only bettered by 2 drivers that I can tell. Max Kinnon, who's gone from the 25th to 9th, and our Bryant Shock Technology in-race reporter Gabe Wood, who's gone all the way from 35th to 12th.
And for Alfredo, this is just a moment of continuing consistent finishes. We saw what happened in Daytona last Monday night, where he had a definite shot to win the race. He was one of the more dominant cars, one of the more aggressive ones up front on the super speedway. And tonight he surely carried some of that speed as he's trying to make the work on Will Rogers at the moment, but continues to fall just short as they go to the inner loop. And as for Alfredo, this consistent move for at least this race is going to help him a lot in the point standings, because with the way that he ran at Daytona, with the way he's running here tonight, I reckon it is going to be very quick. But there was contact just up in front. Will Rogers made a door to the 62 of Rob Amico, who had made a trip down pit road last lap by, but that could have been very big. Luckily, the getaway clean.
Also starting to see a few black flags coming in for cutting their course, which tends to be an issue with these trucks. Very easy to get on the grass because these trucks are designed to go off-road, so you'll see that more often with the trucks than you would with some of the other vehicles you'd race at Watkins Glen. Dylan Welch, one of the first drivers that has been nabbed by race control, as Shane Van Gisbergen comes down pit road for service here right at lap 20.
This is going to be the move, I think, James, that is going to set you up for this competition yellow, because once it comes out, you know you're going to be out of pit road for the most part. You're going to have fresh tires. You're going to have fuel along the way, so you can get to the next stint before you end up making that final pit stop here at Watkins Glen. So as for these leaders, they know for the fact that if they make fresh tire calls here, if they make the pit stop call here, they'll probably be better off than a driver who does stay out. And there's Kyle Busch coming to the inner loop. Caution, flag waves. First competition caution of the evening, James. We get to rack the field back up, so it's going to be very exciting.
So interesting move there from Van Gisbergen, and some of the other top runners, Davison, Schildhouse, Cabot, and Wilson also came down pit road. And because they have their fresh tires and fresh fuel, we know at least one of those two is true for everybody in this group. Some of these drivers may have decided to not take tires, but in either case, they are going to most likely stay out under the yellow flag to maintain the track position, having already come down pit road midway through this race. So SPG will go straight back to the front, and he will take the race lead when we go back green flag racing if, as we presume, your top 4 of Busch, Alfredo, Rogers, and Slate decide to come down pit road.
Yeah, so that's going to be the call. That's exactly what I mentioned there. Go down pit road now, stay out under yellow, and gain all the track position back. And I know for Van Gisbergen, it's not going to be that big of a blow, because as fast as he's been tonight, he knows how to get around cars, and he's fairly quick. So with that, even though if he loses a couple spots, he knows he can gain them all back with what he's carried so far. And as we get to the yellow, for drivers like Gisbergen, for drivers like James Davison, they have that opportunity to come back up through the field with that speed, even though they're probably going to be in a tougher situation in traffic than they would if they stayed out on this caution. But Kyle Busch is going to catch the pace truck, and we're going to bunch the field back together. That's the thing about these road courses, James. It's kind of hard to find the pace car when you're kind of separated everywhere around.
it takes a little bit to get everybody organized behind the pace car. So while these drivers catch back up to our pace car, or in this case, pace truck, we are going to take a commercial break and then come back with more action from the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge at Watkins Glen. This is Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA Auto Parts here on Podium Esports. When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. There's a reason that Maconi Setup Shop is trusted by more virtual and real-world tracks and companies than any other setup shop in iRacing. With partners such as Stafford Motor Speedway, the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, Five Flag Speedway, Speed 51, and more. When you want something done right, you go to the experts at Maconi Setup Shop.
With setups available for most series on both asphalt and dirt, built by a team of professional builders consisting of some of the top talents on the service, Maconi Setup Shop LLC has what you need to hit the track with confidence. Head over to MaconiSetupShop.com and learn why Maconi Setup Shop is the official setup shop of Richmond Raceway Esports and is partnered with some of the largest names in virtual and real racing.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it. It's the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Simple to light, easy to use, comes with a free lifetime warranty. Have it delivered to your door by a certified dealer in your community and start enjoying the ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at BigGreenEgg.com. That's BigGreenEgg.com.
At NAPA, we keep things moving. If it has wheels and an engine, we help keep it on the road. And if it's on the road, we have parts for it. And if you need a part, you can get it fast. At NAPA, when we're not thinking about cars, we're thinking about the people who drive them. Because when it comes to serving you and our community, our motor never quits.
We are an industrial flooring company specializing in custom floors and drains. We don't believe in the one-size-fits-all approach to flooring, and neither should you. When you choose Tufco, we consult with you about your needs, industry requirements, and factor in numerous variables. After assessing your facility, we engineer your floor and drains, then install everything ourselves. That's the Tufco way. Visit our website at tufcoflooring.com.
Welcome back to Podium Esports coverage of the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge from Watkins Glen International, the second race of the season for Season 3 of Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA Auto Parts. James Pike, Kenneth Pointo, Ryan Bauer, Justin Prince bringing you the action this evening with cameras presented to us this evening by Dougie Beard. Tonight's broadcast brought to you by Tufco Flooring, an industrial flooring company specializing in custom floors and drains. Tufco doesn't believe in the one-size-fits-all approach, and neither should you. Tufco listens to your needs and requirements and develops custom solutions for every client. And for more information, visit their website at tufcoflooring.com. It's time to talk to our Bryant Shock Technologies in-race reporter for the evening, and that is Gabe Wood. We've had him on once before. We bring him back again. And Gabe, your elbows were about 90 degrees to the sky when we pulled up your in-car feed a few laps ago. How much are you having to put some elbow grease into these things just to get them to turn properly through the corners?
It's not exactly to get them to turn; it's to get them to turn the way you want to. You've literally got to drive the thing with the throttle just to get it under control, and then work the wheel back and forth to get the traction to go where you want it. It's crazy out there. I'm making it work, and I guess I'm making it look like I'm working. So.
Work is work. I think no one's going to question that. Just how tricky, though, is it to work around other trucks to make passes with this particular setup? We've talked a lot on the broadcast about the lack of power these trucks have and the lack of top-end speed they've got. So what kind of challenge does that present when it comes to passing other drivers?
Well, I started 35th, and I worked my way up to 15th. And literally the whole time it was just capitalizing on people just getting on the power too much. You just wait on, like Ron and I were having a really good battle, Ron Capps and Stephen Ellis and guys like that. And as soon as you get back to the throttle just a little bit hard, the back end wants to kick out, and that's when me or anybody else can take advantage of you.
And how cool is it once again to have KSTT CPA on board with you this evening and supporting you and everybody at JD Motorsports with Gary Keller? They've been on our in-race reporter shots a few times with you, so it's a pretty good partnership you got going there.
Yeah, Jeff from KSTT, he's one of the best sponsors I've had. He's always helpful. He's literally told us, he's like, guys, even if I'm not sponsoring you, if you need a set of tires, call me. And thankfully, we've got some great partners with Forever Lawn and a bunch of other companies, and we haven't been able where we haven't had to do that. And we've had Jeff on board a couple times and had a really great paint scheme in Las Vegas, and then Colby Howard ran the same one at Talladega. And having Jeff on board, it's a pleasure. Just to see him, wherever we go, and it's one of the best sponsors I've had, and just a pleasure to be around him.
Should be a lot of fun to see you work your way through this field in the second half of this race. Gabe, thanks for the time, and best of luck the rest of the evening.
Thanks, guys.
That's Gabe Wood from JD Motorsports. By day, working on the crew there. By race weekend, the man from Valdosta, Georgia, you can find on pit road, getting it done for the 0, the 4, and maybe that 6 car too of Ryan Vargas, who himself is usually a regular competitor in Monday Night Racing. Taking a night off this week, but we say hello to Ryan. We know he's watching the broadcast, and we look forward to seeing him back in Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA Auto Parts very soon. More importantly, though, Kenneth Bueno, lights are off for the pace truck. Green flag's going to come on lap 25 of 40. And Shane Van Gisbergen and James Davis and DJ Cummings, your top 3 that will lead us to the green in just a few corners.
Yep, and they're going to go across that final corner. And one thing to note, they're going to be single file. So as apart from the regular standing start where a lot of them are side by side, a lot of them are fending for position, this one is going to be all about execution on the throttle. How good can you get to it? And how do you set this move up to the inside or outside? Maybe if you can send it hard enough into turn 1, we'll just have to find out. But as for Van Gisbergen, I'm assuming we may have to see him just control the lead as he's done so far this race and try to lead him off in turn 1 very comfortably here.
It matters now. There are not as many free passes in the literal or figurative sense you're going to get from here on out, as the green flag will come back out. In another lap here, because the lights have come back on the pace truck. So we're going to need one more lap to get everyone organized. And as race control gets everybody lined up properly for the restart, we'll take a look at some of the events coming up in the world of iRacing and Podium over the course of the next week. A bit more of a podium week this week. You've got the Pro Invitational Series off and the Coke Series off. So all about Podium. And our action continues on Wednesday night with a triple header. One of the first times ever that Podium has had 3 events going on at once. You've got PCA Sim Racing heading to Long Beach, the street circuit for the very first time. You can enter the PCA Sim Racing YouTube channel this Wednesday night, May 12th at 8 p.m. Eastern to watch that. You've got the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series from Charlotte and the dirt track at Charlotte at 9 p.m. on the Podium 2 Twitch channel. And then you've got the iRacing Association EPM Omega Cup Summer Bowl from Circuit of the Americas. Got the chance to look at some of the names entered for that event. You've got Jimmy Molas, Zach Novak, Garrett Maines, Vicente Salas, some of the big drivers of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series going to try hand road course racing and maybe get a little preparation for the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series event that will take place at COTA next week, and see if they can get part of a $5,000 purse. That's going to happen Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on the iRacing Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube channels. Fridays, it's Next Gen Fast Fridays presented by Maconi Setup Shop from the Charlotte Roval. 9:30 p.m. start Friday night, May 14th on the Podium Esports Twitch channel. Before Sunday night, we go to Iowa Speedway for the first race in the round of 12 of Season 3 of the MPI Cup Series, and that too also on the Podium Esports Twitch channel this Sunday night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern before M&R is back next Monday night. You've got the Coke Series from COTA next Tuesday night as well. So a big week of racing as always, and a big week on iRacing for Podium Esports. We hope that you'll join us later on throughout the week for all the events that we'll have on offer. As the lights are properly off the pace chart this time around, and I don't think they are going to go back on, it is going to be Van Gisbergen, Davison, Cummings still your top three as we get set to go racing, and we will take off. SVG gets on the gas pedal. We're back underway with the second half of the Beat Jerky Unlimited Challenge from Watkins Glen International.
And a head down to turn one, hard on the brakes. Van Gisbergen able to slither away into turn one. A couple drivers locking up the brakes. I saw McKinnon make a little bit of a slide. Seems as though he doesn't suffer too much damage, but he will lose a bit of track position to both DJ Cummings and Stefan Wilson. He'll get an extra bump as they head down the S's, but as for the most part, everybody stays clean.
Everybody within the first 4, 5, 6 made it through clean, and then it is a mess right around 7th and 8th. Gary Sexton, Max Kennan, Anthony Alfredo, Ford Martin, Will Rogers, Kyle Busch, all maybe within about 6 truck lengths total.
This is not a place you want to be packed in a group, and a couple of them getting subbed into the inner loop. Ford Martin in the middle of that mess where Anthony Alfredo got loose, but they're able, all of them, to save it as they head down the carousel. And here comes Will Rogers to take advantage of all of their mishaps, and also Kyle Busch makes that move a couple positions ahead. So as they're making this mess work or trying to settle it down, a couple drivers already pouncing, making that attack stick.
I saw Max Kennan just drive straight through the grass in the inner loop, and I have a hunch his thought was something along the lines of, I'm going to go ahead and take a warning here because I'd rather take the warning here and take a strike than get run over by somebody behind me. And by and large, that worked out pretty well for him because he maintained his position. He's still in 9th spot, trying to run down Gary Sexton, or rather the 10th spot, trying to run down Gary Sexton for the 9th spot as Sexton continues to thunder down the front straightaway, see if he can go get DJ Cummings in 6th.
As you're looking at this battle here, Kyle Busch tries to go to the inside. Kennan, one of the biggest movers here tonight, going to try to get around Gary Sexton. But as for the moves up front, a couple drivers starting to get very close together. James Davison has kept Shane Van Gisbergen in his crosshairs, so we haven't seen them walk away. And Adam Cabot, the Monday Night Racing rookie, the champion of the eSports Racing League with Anthony Alfredo, he's shown a lot of speed over the course of tonight's race, and this may be a shot to learn from the two most dominant drivers so far in this race and possibly be able to beat them as he's catching.
And look at the battle just behind this group still. They are absolutely just trying to shove each other forward and or out of the way. From 7th on back, here comes Kyle Busch underneath Gary Sexton in the carousel with Max Kennan and Will Rogers in tow.
And he'll make that pass. That's exactly what I said, setting it up for the carousel, making that opportunity stick, digging your nose in, and making that pass work. And as for Kyle Busch, that's going to send him to 8th. Gary Sexton probably going to give into the braking zone. He won't necessarily do so. And now James Will Rogers is slowly starting to pick his way once again on a fantastic outside move in the final corners to Max Kennan. He's now starting to make this charge as well.
He just got around Max Kennan, going to work his way alongside Gary Sexton down the front straightaway as you go on board with the 65 machine. Here he goes to the inside to set this up into turn one, and I have a feeling it won't be much of a contest. Sexton is just going to let Will Rogers go, and all of a sudden the Supremo over at Space Station Racing and the head of that arm of SSG up to P8, and now trying to run down Kyle Busch for the 7th position.
And here's another rundown for the 2nd position. James Davison under fire. Here's Adam Cabot, a dig nose to the inside as they head for the inner loop. This is going to be tough to go side by side down here. Who outbreaks the other? Does Davison have enough? No, he doesn't. Cabot makes the move, and now he can chase Shane Van Gisbergen for the lead.
Didn't even run off into the grass on the inner loop either. It was a clean pass from Adam Cabot, who all of a sudden has no one besides the former Supercars champion in his sights. Cabot, the ERL champion, up to second with that move on James Davison. Meanwhile, behind him, everybody else is strung out, but we may have a battle for the 6th position as Kyle Busch now is all over DJ Cummings.
And we're seeing a lot more battling, at least James, between this second segment than we do the first, as Busch completely sends it into the second to last corner. He'll make it stick on DJ Cummings, and he continues once again his aggressive trot to the front. I think that may be the key there that we talked about just a little bit during that halfway mark, is that you want to be aggressive later in this race, and aggressivity in these trucks, James, does pay off at some point. Even with the tire wear, even with the way you have to handle and manhandle these trucks throughout the corners, if you're able to maintain the control while also sending it in, being a little more aggressive, that could be the key to making positions, as a couple drivers being aggressive around Anthony Alfredo's place.
Big moves there from Preston Pardis as the SSG drivers are really beginning to turn up the heat. Will Rogers just got around DJ Cummings in about a 3-corner span, working his way through the final corners and down the front straight just last time by. So Rogers up to 7th and really beginning to run down Kyle Busch. And last time by, Rogers put down a 26.5, which was a 10th faster than Van Gisbergen, the race leader. So Rogers has decided it's time to go. The question is just how high can he climb up the leaderboard?
We've seen Rogers do this before, James, so we can't necessarily be surprised that we're seeing him pull off a feat like this. But in the final 10 laps, remember, we may have to see, once again, another step to pit road. So although Rogers gains his positions now, this could be some easy work, but the real challenge will be when you go down pit road and how you're able to make it happen when you get your service, because ultimately that is going to be the crucial part to take the checkered flag for Will Rogers. He knows that if he can defend this win, it will be possibly a big statement on the rest of this field as he run on board with Ron Capson, 15.
Ron Capps in the heat of a very good battle. Josh Slade is here, Ford Martin is here, Anthony Alfredo is here, and Alfredo is actually going to come down pit road, so he's the first driver to make a stop after we got our competition caution. But this also means that Alfredo should be good to go to the rest of this race. And he'll be the first driver that can make that claim towards the front of the field and may be able to gain a little bit of time by undercutting everybody the way he has.
And for the way that pitch strategy works, I mean, you're going to look at just how long you can stretch, and if you can, that's going to be large, because everybody else though are going to be on fresh tires, and you probably have to watch for the distance. And for one, if you stay out to the end of this race, distance is going to be determinative of where these drivers end up in terms of track position. Because remember, we're not going to have those yellow flags unless, let's say, we have a giant pileup in the middle of the racetrack. So you don't have that to fall back on. You just have your pit execution and where you end up after and what you can do to muster position now with 11 laps to go. So I think, James, what's more interesting is that it's a fairly short race for Watkins Glen standards with these trucks, or mostly with any other car. 11 to go seems like just a short distance, but with the way you execute pitch strategy, with the way we're going to have that, it's going to feel like forever.
We've got some time left in this race, so if you're worried that you may have missed the majority of the event, don't be so worried, because we've got more action than you would normally have for 10 laps to go. Here on Podium Esports as Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA Auto Parts continues, and a big push there. Look at that. Will Rogers just decided to send Kyle Busch all the way down to the valley, just about trying to push him into the fence, as there's the 15 machine. That's, I believe, James Davison, who just shows up and went wide coming out of turn 1, and all of a sudden forced Kyle Busch and Will Rogers door-to-door coming through the Essex.
And this was a step backwards for James Davison, James, and the fact that he went from second chasing down Shane Van Gisbergen, and now in the midst of this battle in about the top 5. We'll take a look at it as they were all the way behind. Here's James Davison under pressure from Stefan Wilson. This is going to turn 1. Bit of an aggressive dive, trying to shut the door, and Davison all the way up the track, and that's exactly what resulted in this sort of merge where Kyle Busch and Will Rogers were. Gotta think those two were very scared, seeing that Red Bull truck just all of a sudden come right to the front windshield.
A lot of action there and a lot of heated tempers. Let's go down to Justin Prince for another report from pit road.
And definitely not happy, to say the very least, was Davison in that sequence. Had gotten actually very verbal over the radio just before that contact. And now Davidson, as a result, struggling a little bit here. Keep in mind that drivers are talking about potential strategies right now. They are trying to stretch it, then short fueling, or in some cases, trying to come in right now like Davidson.
Maybe not a surprise after that incident that Davison decides to maybe make an earlier pit stop than I think he would have figured and just come in and get the service down, get it done and dusted, and maybe give himself some clean track to work with in the final 10 laps of this race.
Yeah, and him and a couple of the drivers, I saw DJ Cummings make a move down pit road. So, James, this is going to be the call to make it all the way to the end with 9 laps to go. And I think for Davison, that was probably enough at this point. He's right along. Here's Gabe Wood doing some work. I think we saw him put in the arms on the wheel throughout the first segment of this race, at least for this battle for position. He's having a lot more to work with his Air Spanky truck, and here he is right behind the 14 to Dylan Welch for the 12th position.
I'm about to say, we've got our old buddy Moonhead win play here versus a man who is best known for his work at the Motor Racing Network and NBC Sports. Dylan Welch just ahead of him, and Dylan also a dirt racer, a midget racer. I would hope that for a native Indiana, anybody would expect nothing less. They do love their dirt racing in Indiana, so no surprise that he's got a little experience behind the wheel of a midget car, and those sorts of skills being put to good use here as Dylan currently rides in the 12th position as these two both try and run down Garrett Smithley, who's about maybe 5 or 6 truck lengths ahead of them.
And up ahead of this group, the top 2 leaders, and actually top 3, as I should say, they go down pit road. Shane Van Gisbergen, Adam Cabot, and Stefan Wilson, all 3 of them making this call to go to the end of the race. So as they go to turn 1, a bump from Kyle Busch. This is, relatively speaking, for the race lead, and we have not seen Busch let off the rear bumper of that 65. You gotta mention at least that Kyle Busch has been making these aggressive moves all race through the second half, and he's willing to do it on Will Rogers any moment he can.
I think Kyle Busch's aggressive nature is pretty well documented, so no surprise to see him having a good time, though, with Will Rogers. I know we talked to Will before about this combo in particular, and he's made the point that these trucks are so springy that you really can sort of beat each other up and still maintain control of this Pro 2 truck in a way that you aren't really able to do so with a lot of other cars. It's almost as if the platform is designed for a little bit more close quarters racing. So I figure they're both having some fun wheeling their trucks to the carousel, but they do need to come down pit road for service, as does Preston Portis, who rides in 3rd, as does Max Kinnon, who rides in 4th. Garrett Smithley also due for a pit stop. He's 5th now after all of the pit stops, and Gabe Wood currently 6th before you get to SVG, who rides in 7th, but again is the first of the trucks that came down for service that last time by.
And you have to also mention, Pike, that when they went down this pitch strategy, a lot of them were able to cycle back fairly quickly. For Van Gisbergen and for Stefan Wilson, for James Davison, all the guys who were mired in the top 3, when they went down pit road, it was possibly almost seamless for them to come back to where they were running on the racetrack when they were under green before the strategy began. So you have to also think about that as well, is how much concern will be laid on the guys who have yet to pit, especially if some of them are going to go down pit road relatively soon. They know that Shane Van Gisbergen, they know that the leaders are going to start to cycle back fairly soon. So do you make this call a little bit later, or do you make this call now, knowing you've got a little bit more of a gap in the distance-wise?
Just about everybody else coming down pit road that didn't that first time around. Preston Portis is in, Gabe Wood is in, Max Kinnon is in, Mike Clay, the reporter for ESPN for the National Football League, also in for service this time around, and it leaves Will Rogers and Kyle Busch as the 2 drivers up front who have yet to pit. Same for Garrett Smithley, and then Greg Stump and Mark Ravillas like in 7th and 8th, but those 2 already passed by some of your race leaders, Van Gisbergen, Wilson, and Cabot. Also of note, just looking at the deltas for that last pit stop, Cabot had an 11.7 second pit stop to Van Gisbergen's 8.5, and there's a corresponding gap of about maybe 4, 5, 6 seconds that's opened up between SVG and Cabot, who was in 2nd before these pit stops. But when the cycle's through, looks like Cabot's going to go to 3rd and will have been leapfrogged by Stefan Wilson in the process, as you see the 2 current leaders come down pit road. So there's Rogers and Busch for what should be their final stops of the night.
Yeah, with 7 laps to go, this is the call. This is to splash on the fuel, maybe get some tires along the way, and you will be out. And it's funny that you mentioned that sort of sequence there between Stefan Wilson and Adam Cabot, because they were pretty much drag racing to the pit exit line in order to go for that position. And for Cabot, over the course of that entire run down pit lane, he was about 2.5 seconds slower. So that sort of little margin, the small little mistake, a bit of extra time going down pit road certainly will affect the way these drivers will finish, unless Cabot can go back around from Stephon Wilson. And also, speaking of another battle in pit road, as we were looking at Kyle Busch and Will Rogers do their business, Kyle Busch takes the advantage out of it to the S's.
So Kyle Busch there, your leader amongst that two. He gets around Will Rogers and was a second quicker in the box. An 8.5 second stop to a 9.5 second stop. So both Busch and Rogers just taking fuel, electing not to take tires in the final pit stop of the evening. The problem is that Shane Van Gisbergen is well clear of this group and well clear of the rest of the field. It's 5.5 seconds that he's got on the field, and Garrett Smithley's yet to come down pit road, but SVG's been so quick that here he is in his 97 truck fighting for the race lead anyway.
It's the magic of fresh tires. So he's going to be right there. And now it's a question of how long will it take before he makes a move. The answer is now. Going to tightly pack it into the second to last corner. Go underneath Garrett Smithley. And with some of that extra grip that he has on his Pro 2 truck, he seemingly most likely will take this lead in the final corner. Won't do it just yet. And as for Garrett Smithley, he actually will not take a trip down pit road. So they are side by side for the race lead. There goes Van Gisbergen by, and all of a sudden the driver who started on pole goes back to P1.
Shane Van Gisbergen back to the race lead and back to the point with 5 laps to go in the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge for Monday Night Racing, presented by NAPA Auto Parts at Watkins Glen. We ride on board with Smithley, who is going to try and stretch this out, I think. He was one of the first ones to jump in with Anthony Alfredo, but it just hasn't worked out for Alfredo. He had to come back down pit road a few laps ago, so Alfredo mired back in the 14th position. Meanwhile, really good battle also for the third spot between Stephen Wilson and Adam Cabot, you see just in the background of your screens.
And as soon as I said that, with the way Adam Cabot lost the spot down pit road, he definitely wants it back before this race is all said and done. And with the way the distance is kind of spread out, James, between a lot of these leaders, you reckon that these two right here, Wilson and Cabot, are not fighting for the win at this point. They're just fighting for as many positions as they can gather. And for drivers like Adam Cabot in his first season Monday Night Racing, this is a proud statement to make consistent finishes and gather all those points. Being a rookie in a field full of, at least for most, is a lot of veterans around him, and real life racing veterans as a matter of fact. So this is fantastic to note for Adam Cabot to gain positions here, being the top 5, coming to 4 to go. And for that long tech machine, he's going to be very proud, not at least knowing that he doesn't get the win, but that he gets a very good position out of it as well.
He was fast last week in the season opener featuring the cars in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Daytona, and he's been quick tonight as well. As you see Garrett Smithley come in from second, and now that will complete our cycle of pit stops, and it will move Van Gisbergen to the lead outright, and Wilson to second, then Cabot, then Kyle Busch, then Will Rogers. And we may need to keep a tight eye on the P3, 4, 5 battle, because this is really beginning to tighten up. Wilson's not too far ahead of this group, but Cabot beginning to be reeled in by Busch, and Will Rogers has closed that gap that developed when those two came down pit road. He's all over Kyle Busch once again as they head towards the inner loop.
And between this quartet, James, half of them pitted 4 laps ago, the other half in the rear of this line pitted 2 laps ago. So 2-lap difference on the tires is certainly making a big difference. And for Kyle Busch and Will Rogers, they may have a lot to pick up here if they can pounce in enough time. And with 4 laps to go, we said how much you can be aggressive with the bumpers, how willing you can be to use those bumpers. I think that time may be coming to now. Here's Cabot, though, to the inside for second.
Cabot to the inside to get the spot there. He goes to P2 ahead of Wilson. Kyle Busch sitting in the wings, and maybe Stephen Wilson running out of tires, running out of speed, running out of something at the end of this, because all of a sudden he's got plenty of company for that final spot on the podium.
And this is going to be great for Will Rogers, even if he can't get this win. And now Stephen Wilson is going to take the retaliation effort back to turn 1. Hard on the brakes, not enough grip to make it stick. Cabot will defend, though. And for Kyle Busch and Will Rogers, still aiming to get this pass back and still looking to see how they're going to make this stick, unless they're just a lot quicker. But these 4 have been all tightly packed, and that continues, James, to allow Shane Van Gisbergen to run away, seemingly with the race lead. He was about 5.1 seconds at one point, or at least 5.5 seconds. He's bridged it to 6.1. You see him now entering the inner loop while they continue to duel for position behind.
Oh, Kyle Busch thought about making it 3 wide for the moment. Instead, here comes Stephen Wilson with the fight back. He's going to get in there and get a little nudge from Adam Cabot in the middle of the inner loop. We'll see if Race Control has anything to say about that, because I just saw come across the official timing and scoring feed that the number 25's number got called for course cutting in the inner loop just a few laps ago. So Wilson is going to have to be careful about how he attacks that space on the racetrack. Now, I figure with the contact there, if anything, Race Control would really got turned over into the grass. They might not count that against them, but he has to be very careful to stay on the curves with his last few laps, lest he want to get a penalty that would knock him out of this great P2 run that he's putting together so far.
And what's even better here for Stefan Wilson, although he's being pressured by Adam Cabot and the rest of them, is that he's leading this group. If you're a driver that wants to maintain clean on the racetrack, you want to be in front of traffic, because if you're in the midst of it, you're going to push yourself a little bit harder throughout the corners in order to get those positions that you lose. And that'll be another lost position, though, for Stefan Wilson. No defense to turn one. Adam Cabot makes a move stick. Here comes Kyle Busch and Will Rogers making a duo to the S's.
Busch went on the grass there, went over the curb in the first part of the S's and bangs off of Stephen Wilson, and that allows Will Rogers to get to the inside as Busch bounces off the fence at the top of the hill and will slide to the back of this quartet as Cabot now stretches his lead over Wilson by a hair, but Wilson's going to get the draft coming down the back straightaway and might be able to close this back up, entering the inner loop one more time.
And there's still a very long time to make these moves, so no matter what, as you come across 2 to go into the white flag, you still have a rather long track, and for Will Rogers, going to use the tap of the bumper to push Stefan Wilson up the racetrack in the carousel. Kyle Busch will slither along by, and all of a sudden, Stefan Wilson loses 3 positions from P2 to P5 as Rogers and Busch continue to bully their way through this group of trucks.
All over the place in this last lap, but it's Shane Van Gisbergen that will have to watch here, because he is about to come across the start finish line and take the Maconi setup shop 1 to go. One more time around for Van Gisbergen to pick up his first win in Monday Night Racing, presented by NAPA Auto Parts and the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge. If he can keep it clean on the last lap, the trip here at New York's Thunder Road will belong to SVG.
And what's been so a dominant race for Shane Van Gisbergen, started on the pole, led the, at least set the fastest time on the racetrack, and did not let up. You see the tires giving up a little bit, drifting through the track. He knows how much of a lead he has. He knows if he keeps it clean for the final corners, he will take this victory for certain. So it has been an applauding effort for the driver of that 97, but we still have to keep our eyes, James, on the battle for second. Here comes Will Rogers now to the inside. Will he send it through the inner loop?
Rogers is going to have that inside on the entry to the inner loop, and Cabot tried to turn down into him and just didn't have enough, and that's also brought Stephen Wilson and Kyle Busch right back into this, and we're going to have a great battle for the final spots of the podium over the course of the final few corners.
And they continue to duel. Shane Van Gisbergen out in front of the final 2 corners. Busch to the inside of Stefan Wilson. They continue to remain door-to-door for position. Cabot now trying to make the final effort for that second place position, but it is all Shane Van Gisbergen through the final corner here at Watkins Glen.
Shane Van Gisbergen is an Australian Supercars champion. He's a Bathurst 1000 champion, and now he will become a race winner in Monday Night Racing, presented by NAPA Auto Parts, with the swerves across the line to get the job done and win the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge at Watkins Glen, as Will Rogers was able to take P2 at the line ahead of Adam Cabot. But this is SVG's 9th. The Aucklander from New Zealand is a winner in Monday Night Racing.
And you see the rest of the trucks now coming across the line. There's Anthony Alfredo securing 9th. DJ Cummings to 10th. There's Max Cannon, Gary Sexton, everybody else now allowed to finish. But as the spotlight shines on Shane Van Gisbergen, this is a certainly amazing moment for the driver of the 97, almost dominating this entire race, being able to lead through pit strategy and all, conquering all obstacles, and we'll get to celebrate here from New York.
Celebrations to come across the board as we see the rest of the field come across the start-finish line, and plenty of fun to have in the post-race show. We're going to have a lot to talk about as these drivers finish up the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge and get set for next week. Yes, they didn't finish in the top 3, but for those who managed to get a podium finish, we're going to see if we can chat with them momentarily as we'll take a look at the full field rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished up this evening. The Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge goes to Shane Van Gisbergen out of the Australian Supercars. Will Rogers comes home in second for Space Station Racing. Adam Cabot was third at the evening. Kyle Busch and Stephen Wilson finishing P5 and P4, respectively. Preston Portis with a good debut night for SSG up in 6th. David Childown was 7th. Anthony Alfredo 8th. DJ Cummings 9th. And Gary Sexton completed the top 10.
Max Kennan goes from 25th on the grid to 11th at the start-finish line. Dylan Welch behind him will finish in 12th. Garrett Smithley led a good amount of laps due to staying out on the strategy, but after pit road hit for him, he ends up 13th to end this race. Joshua Slade will be 14th. Gabe Wood, our in-race supporter, ends up at the edge of the top 15, followed by Ford Martin, Ron Capps, Garrett Miller in 18th, Stephen Ellis 19th, and Justin Malilla with the 53 will complete your top 20 from Watkins Glen.
Steve Lafont, Matt Stonek, Brandon Brown, Chad Reed, and Robbie Lyons, 21st through 25th here in the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge from Monday Night Racing, presented by NAPA Auto Parts at Watkins Glen. Greg Stump with 26th, Mark Rabilis 27th, James Bickford, Michael Massey, Drew Welker 28th, 29th, and 30th.
And back to 31st through 37. Not a great night for James Davison. Ends up a black flag near the end of this race. One lap down. Devin Henry, though, behind him with 32nd. Mike Clay, Seth Egger, Brett Baldick, Rob D'Amico, and Paul Sutton will be all the 37 trucks for this race for the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge here at Watkins Glen. Unfortunate night for a lot of them.
There is your full field rundown. Time to talk to your podium finishers. We turn first to the Magic Man, the ERL champion out of Glen Garden, New Jersey. Adam Cabot now joins us in the booth. And Adam, we figured you'd probably have some speed. You had to go through the fires of the ERL just to get into Monday Night Racing, but to come home with a podium finish in your second race ever in M&R presented by NAPA Auto Parts, you have to be absolutely just over the moon with this one.
Yeah, this is honestly just insane. I'm beyond thrilled with that finish. There were times where I looked down at the top 5 or the relative and saw the names around me and just started laughing. Like how did I even get here? How am I in this league? How am I running this well? But I mean, that was just unreal. As far as towards the end there with strategy, I had no idea before the race. We had 2 sets of tires. I knew it took a lot more time to put tires on and was a little bit of an advantage. So I had no idea what I was supposed to do with that. And I got kind of lucky with how long that caution was there, trying to sort out the order. And because I took tires right before I pit during that, like right before the stage we had there, before that halfway break. So I had fresh tires to the end, but I just took way too much fuel. I don't have like crew chief or one of those apps, and I guess I really should probably get one after this, but that's why I lost so much time to Shane. But I mean, there was no way I was going to beat him anyway. The only reason I kept up with him was just because of the tow. I knew if he got out by himself, there's going to be no catching him. But I mean, just the fact that I was trying to catch him and running around the names I was running is just absolutely unreal.
I think when we got to the final 5 laps, it wasn't even about strategy at that point. It was about just trying to make the moves because you all cycled from 2nd back to 5th and then to 3rd and then to 4th and then over and over again about 3 or 4 times with each passing lap. So just take us through what it was like to be part of that battle, which was crazy for P3 at the end.
Oh, it was so much fun. And the whole time, especially the last couple laps, I'm like, just don't screw it up, is what I kept telling myself. Like, on the last lap there, side by side in the bus stop, I backed out because I did not want to ruin a good run like that and either take myself out or take out one of the guys around me. But it was so much fun. It seemed like everyone was doing different strategies, but we would all just kind of, like you said, we'd all just merge back together anyway at the end, and it just kind of turned out into a brawl. But yeah, I mean, just so much fun. These things on a road course are just unreal. I mean, you can get into each other and you can go off track a little bit and you can just absolutely wheel it and not really even have to worry too much about causing a crash or losing control. You can just absolutely wheel it, and it was a blast.
You can wheel it here. You're going to be able to wheel it in a few days' time because we're going to be doing a similar kind of racing next week. It's the dirt track at Bristol Motor Speedway and the trucks of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. So you're going to be sliding maybe a little bit more than you were tonight. How excited are you to get to Bristol and tackle that challenge?
Yeah, it's like we're increasing the slip angle a little bit each week, and I don't think we're going to get farther out than we're going to get next week at Bristol. But I'm really looking forward to that race. It's I did a lot of the A fixed at Bristol Dirt when we were there a few weeks ago, and it was so much fun. And I didn't run the truck there, but I imagine it's pretty similar. And there will be, like you said, there's going to be a lot of sliding, a lot of contact. It's going to be interesting.
Well, Adam, congratulations on your podium finish this evening. Thanks for the time, and we'll see you in Bristol next Monday night.
All right, sounds good. Thanks.
It's the Magic Man, Adam Cabot, out of New Jersey, who comes up P3 this evening. P2 tonight was the defending race winner. Didn't quite back up what he did a season ago, but still a really solid finish for Will Rogers from Space Station Racing, who is with Kenneth Boydo.
Here with the drive of the 65 for Space Station Gaming. And Will, I know that this race was relatively long for a Pro 2 race at Watkins Glen. No, it fell down a lot to strategy, but what ultimately determined the finishing run for you in this race was that final battle between yourself, Adam Cabot, Stefan Wilson, and the 51 of Kyle Busch. I reckon it must have been a lot of fun racing with those guys for the second position, which you got the benefit of the doubt of.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm definitely frustrated that I missed the strategy a little bit. I was planning to pit on the same strategy as Shane and some of the other guys, but me and Kyle, I think we both missed our window by one lap. So we ended up getting caught behind people coming out of the pits in the second half there, probably like 12th or 13th or so. But I feel like Kyle and I were both pretty smart road racers. Obviously, we took what we could get. But we at least worked together a little bit, as where some people you might not have that same trust or foresight to think about the long game as opposed to the short game. So that worked out for us to get back to the front. And I saw that Adam and Stefan were battling hard, and I knew that we were going to be able to take advantage of them. For Stefan specifically, I got to pass him in the carousel. He wasn't super happy because we ended up making a little bit of contact, but going back and watching the replay, he left the door wide open for me to get in there, and I took my shot. And with Adam, I just got to race him hard and pass him into the bus stop and kind of said peace sign out the window and took it. So he challenged me back for the start finish line, but luckily we held on there.
And going into this race, of course, we look back to season 2 when you took that illustrious victory here at this track, being one of your wins in that season of season 2 to go for the championship. Going into this one in season 3 with a lot of the drivers returning and of course yourself back here as well, what was the most difficult part about knowing that you're going to try and defend this win? What seemed to be the hardest factor in this race in order to nail it and be there at the end for victory lane?
Strategy for sure. Like I forgot last year that the strategy was pretty important. Obviously it played out tonight. I feel like if I was on the same strat as Shane and some of the other guys, we would have absolutely been further ahead and at least battling for the win. And when you're in that position, at the end of the day, it comes down to how rough you're going to be with each other. I feel like this race, though, compared to last year, was so much more mellow. Like there was a lot less, hitting and banging and blocking going on. So for that reason, I feel like the racing might have been a little bit better. But yeah, man, I really wanted to defend this win. This was a lot of fun. This is probably my favorite combo in the series. The truck is great to run at Watkins Glen. Watkins Glen's a world-class facility, obviously, and I love it. So, at the least, we came out as the first loser. It could be worse, but sure as heck wanted that win for Space Station Racing.
So you took trucks that are usually known for being on dirt to the asphalt, and now next week on May 17th, you get to take what is usual asphalt NASCAR trucks to the dirt at Bristol. Are you excited for that race, and are there any expectations you're going to carry there to try to get a win in that front?
Zero expectations. I don't even know where my excitement level is because I think I've run about 3 laps in the truck at Bristol Dirt, and I know how crazy it could be, and depending on the track conditions and how long the race is, it's going to play out in many different ways. So I'm really glad we salvaged a decent points day today because next week is going to be pretty rough. After Daytona, we were set pretty far back in the points. Hopefully we're back up at least towards the middle now, so we can at least start thinking about a long-term plan and championship run. So I don't know. We'll see how next week goes.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time, Will, and of course we congratulate you on this second place finish. It's very exciting to watch you on a track with those guys fighting for that position. So we wish you the best of luck now next week at Bristol, and again, we'll let you celebrate your second place finish here from Watkins Glen.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That is second place, Will Rogers, defending winner and defending champion in this series for Space Station Gaming. He ends up in a tight battle for second, but James, you now stand with arguably the most dominant driver here tonight, Shane Van Gisbergen, in victory lane.
Not even a question of whether or not he might have been the most dominant driver. He was the most dominant driver. And this is something that's clicked well and easily for you, Shane. It was very obvious right from the off. But I think the bigger question here is when you look at the community of sim racers, and especially those who have engagements with supercars, Super 2, the Utes, any of the Porsche Carrera Cup, but any of the drivers down there in Australia and New Zealand, it seems like there's a greater percentage of drivers there that really take to sim racing and just do this for fun. Again, they would do it maybe more so than their counterparts here in the United States. So for you, what do you feel like this win says about the Australia and New Zealand sim racing community and just how strong it is?
Hey, morning guys. Yeah, it was good fun race. Had a good time, and yeah, I raced here 2017, so I kind of knew the track already, so it was a good bit of fun. But yeah, we obviously did a lot of sim racing last year when the COVID stuff happened, so we didn't race. We did like an E-Series and stuff, so yeah, we did a bit of sim racing stuff, but maybe I can get some more of them to come racing with us. This is a cool series.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, especially when you compare the real-life series that went racing last spring in that stretch. You know, some groups like NASCAR did 6 races, IndyCar did about 5 or 6, but Supercars pretty much did a full-on season. You get to the end of the Supercar All-Stars E-Series, and you end up with 31 races, which, for those who aren't aware in America, just about is the same number of rounds that you're going to find as a regular Supercars season. So do you feel like that experience, whether or not it was just the volume of events or whether or not it was getting used to racing big names in the sim week in, week out, like a McLaughlin, like Anton De Pasquale, like Cam Waters, like Chaz Mostert, do you feel like that helped you just develop as a sim racer, maybe helped you tonight in some way?
Yeah, I guess so. It's just fun though. Like, you know, I know James Davison on here and Chad and stuff, and it's just cool to come and race some friends, and then some names, you know, that I see on TV every weekend. I was a teammate to Kyle with the Lexus at Daytona 24 a couple of years ago, so I was texting him before with a bit of banter, so it's just good fun. Good to come and race some friends and do it from the other side of the world.
So you've got some friends in here. We know Scott's obviously based in the Charlotte area. So yeah, any chance we might be able to get a few more folks from the Supercars world into this? Because to be fair, as a personal fan of the series and someone who genuinely does love watching supercar racing myself, if there's a way to get more of you all into this, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I'll send a couple of friends a message. Be good to race Scotty. I know he's just got a simulator set up over there in the States. So yeah, should get him on for some racing.
And also, no, maybe small bit of pride, first New Zealander to win in Monday Night Racing as well, which isn't big, but I know you're going to love that one too, no?
Yeah, well, it's a road course. You guys don't turn right that much, so that helps me. But I need to get better at the oval stuff. I'm not too good at that, so hopefully I'll keep getting better. This season, I'll try and make as many as I can. It's a bit hard on Tuesday mornings for me, but see how I go.
That's fair. Take after our good friend Jay Kennedy, who's part of the production team for the iRacing broadcast of the Coke Series, who is commonly seen grooving around at about 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon Australian time. So you're not the first one, probably won't be the last one, but Shane, thanks for the time this evening. Congratulations on your first Monday Night Racing victory, and we'll see you hopefully not too far down the line.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That is Shane Van Gisbergen, driver of the number 97. And if you don't know the name, be ready to get used to that over and over again. He mentioned it in his interview. He's done a little bit of racing in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with Kyle Busch. He's been part of the Michelin Endurance Cup for the Rolex 24 and the Sailing 6 Hours to the Glen. But he's got some sim racing chops, absolutely no doubt about it. And even though it's his first victory here, I have a sneaking suspicion, Kenneth Bueno, that it's not going to be the last.
It probably won't be. And with this performance, I am sure to be curious on how he'll do for the rest of this season, whether he'll put up more performances like this and be able to win a lot more races. You say it there during the interview that he's the first New Zealander to win at Monday Night Racing, so maybe we could get some more wins on the New Zealand column here in this series with his name on it, with most of those victories. We'll have to find out, but for tonight's effort, I mean, this is just an applaud for what he's been able to do. The fact that he was able to lead so many laps, execute his strategy, lead this race by a good margin over the rest of the field shows just how strong he is on the sim and just how strong he is in this combo, where a lot of people have certainly had fun. I know he did as well.
He had a lot of fun. Another driver had a lot of fun. Kenneth Bueno. How about we Wood one more time, our BST in-race reporter, and see how he felt like his race ended up. Gabe, what'd you think of the Air Spanky machine tonight? And did you get some pig power to get you up through the standings a little bit?
Yeah, we got Spanky to lose a little bit of weight, so we got a little bit less drag. Didn't help us too much there at the end, but it was fun. It was fun all night. Kind of got screwed on the pit strategy there before the halfway break. Should have been with Preston Pardis. Should have been, we talked about it, should have been about 9th or 10th. We ended up starting like 20th or so, and once you get on a restart, you're pretty much locked with the guys you're around, and so that kind of sucked. I felt like I had top 10 speed, but once you're just around a certain group of guys, you kind of just stuck racing with them.
So you get stuck mired sort of in the back of everything. But even then, I feel like one of the beauties of this combo is that regardless of whether or not you're running in first or 21st, you're still having to wheel, and you're still just all over the place because these tracks don't really have that much mechanical grip until you've got the suspension compressed. So just how much fun is it to wheel these things around, even when you're racing deep in the pack?
I mean, it's a blast. I mean, and the thing that sucks about it is there's, you know, when you're in the draft behind somebody, and I was guilty of this tonight, I was starting to kind of yell at Garrett Smithley because I was working with him, and I finally tried to start working my way past him, and he's like, you know, this, you're not helping us. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Garrett, you know, I'm faster through the corners. Well, as soon as I got by him, you know, take the draft away, I'm back to being crap in the corner, you know, and he's better in the corner. So as soon as you get past a guy, if you're not 2-3 tenths faster than him, he's just going to get right back up to you, and you're going to be draft locked with each other. But it was a blast. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you were running dead last, you know, you were just wheeling the thing.
And wheeling it all over the place. Gabe Wood, but more importantly, Bristol trucks next week. You had some speed when we went to Knoxville last season with that combo. The move to Bristol, you think gonna help, hurt, make any difference whatsoever here?
When we did a little stuff for Fox. Ford had us help out. I was pretty fast there in the Cup car at Bristol Dirt, and that's pretty much the only racing I've done there. So it'll be kind of an unknown, but yeah, looking forward to it, considering what we did last season with the trucks at Knoxville. That was my first podium, so that was kind of fun. And yeah, I think maybe the dirt's kind of the equalizer for a lot of guys.
Most importantly, by the end of the evening, did you find a way to get Spanky to smile?
I don't know. I got hit a couple times, so I don't think Spanky was too happy with me. But I'll have to text Travis and the rest of the guys at Mooncar and see if Spanky was smiling.
About to say, good gosh almighty, if nothing else, make sure you leave Spanky with a smile on his face. Be a crime to the world if we had anything else happen. But Gabe, in any case, thanks for all your hard work tonight. Thanks for being our Bryant Shack Technology in-race reporter, and we look forward to seeing you at Bristol next Monday night.
Thanks, guys.
That's Gabe Wood, driver of the number 50 machine, as we get set to close the book on Watkins Glen, Kenneth Bueno, and look back at a fun race, which I think was arguably a little bit more competitive, just in the sense that I felt like the level of driving skill and ability and talent was up consistently through the field compared to Season 2, which I think ultimately is a testament to the continued growth of this league when you have big drivers come in from literally all over the world, when you consider our winner this evening, Shane Van Gisbergen, and then the new partners that have come on board with NAPA Auto Parts joining us for Season 3. It speaks to this league just getting bigger and better and more impressive each and every week.
And when it comes to growth, James, you also have to factor in experience. A lot of these drivers were experienced with racing this for the first time last season. So they come back here and they know, okay, I kind of know how this truck's going to drive. I kind of know what to expect with this kind of combo. And from there, they end up getting better as a result. We saw some fantastic racing, but nonetheless, we saw a lot of mind games being played. The strategy played such a big part. And we talked with Will Rogers when I interviewed him. He said that strategy was arguably the most difficult thing to overcome in order to defend a win. Just how hard it is, not only with the talent level that we have in this series, but also the factors that go into a race like this with the car and track combos. So with that, if we're going to see a lot of this, then Bristol Dirt is going to probably give us a whole different ball game, because we may not see a lot of strategy under the dirt, but we're going to see a lot of the ways the drivers are able to wheel their trucks around there.
Driving skill, driving ability, driving talent. Dirt tends to bring it out, and those who really know how to control a car, or in this case a truck, especially with the throttle, I think are going to have some success when we get to Thunder Valley next Monday night. But before we get to Thunder Valley, some events that we can tell you about in the world of Podium Esports coming up over the course of the next week. You've got a triple header on Wednesday night between PCA Sim Racing, the Dirt Sprint Car Championship Series, and the EPM Omega Cup for the iRacing Association, their Summer Bowl from Circuit of the Americas. PCA Sim Racing debuts Long Beach for the first time ever at 8 p.m. on their YouTube channel on Wednesday night. Then at 9 p.m. it's the Dirt Track in Charlotte for the DSCCS on the Podium 2 Twitch channel right here. And then you can head to iRacing's Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube for the third event from the iRacing Association, founded by NASCAR driver Jesse Awuji. He's going to be on the call for that race, as will Evan Pasoko, the voice of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. We'll bring you all the action from the Summer Bowl from Circuit of the Americas, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, your start time there. Before we slide to Friday and the newest event here at Podium Esports, Next Gen Fast Fridays, presented by Maconi Setup Shop from the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll see just how well the Next Gen car does on a road course. 9:30 p.m. on the regular Podium Esports Twitch channel for that one. Same for Sunday night. Next Sunday night, May 16th, we get to the MPI Cup Series first race in the round of 12. Kenneth Bueno going to be on the call with Devin Henry and Michael Carillia from Iowa Speedway. That'll be a fun one. You get the high horsepower, low downforce package on the Cup Series cars for that race, which will open up the round of 12. And that'll begin this Sunday, May 16th, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. The start for that broadcast before we are back in action with Monday Night Racing. Next Monday night, we've talked about it a few times. We'll say it once more. It's the dirt track at Bristol Motor Speedway with the trucks of the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. Next Monday night, May 17th, 7:45 Eastern, your start time for the pre-race show. Race coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Podium 2 Twitch channel and Podium's Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter pages, and a whole lot more. You log online to the Podium website, the Monday Night Racing website. Tons of information that you can find out about Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA Auto Parts. It is time to close down our broadcast from Watkins Glen. The Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge goes to New Zealand's Shane Van Gisbergen. And congratulations to Shane on his first victory in Monday Night Racing presented by NAPA Auto Parts. And again, a warm welcome one more time to our friends at NAPA who have joined us today. They'll be on board for every race of Season 3 of Monday Night Racing. We look forward to working with our friends at NAPA all season long. For the team at Monday Night Racing, Ford Martin and Paul Sutton. For race control this evening, Josh Mendoza. For our team at Podium Esports behind the scenes, Cisco Scalmuza, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. For our producer, Ryan Bauer. Tonight's pit reporter, Justin Prince. Our pre-race show host, Taylor Burris, and my colleague in the booth, Kenneth Bueno. I am James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports. Thank you so much for watching our coverage of the Beef Jerky Unlimited Challenge for Monday Night Racing presented by Tufco Flooring. We'll see you next Monday night, and congratulations one more time to tonight's winner, Shane Van Gisbergen.